Okay, I wanted to make another video here, kind of highlighting some of the principles of algorithmic trading. In this case, this is a stock called Chewy. It's CHWY. This is a daily chart, and I have the weekly chart here. And I'm kind of just look at it from September all the way through. Currently we're in early February, and just kind of show you the price action that unfolded along the way. Kind of looking at the two principles of taking out liquidity and kind of filling in, inefficient pricing or balancing out sort of inefficient pricing with different gap areas. So you can see here also, this is kind of showing the beginning, each white line here is a new month. So if you look here, this is where the month opens in each case right here. This is October, this is November. So you can see here in November, we're down a little bit to start, but then we turn green for the rest of the month. In this case, we start in September, we start up a little bit, but then we eventually move down, and then January we flip back to after 2 days we flip back to a green month, and that kind of will keep you in line with the big monthly time frame as you kind of analyze price action. So anyway, just looking at some of the key little moments within the stock for the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 coming on 6 months. In September we come down and we take out this liquidity. Obviously we were heading down here at the time, and this was a clear target. Then the question is, are you going to continue lower, or are you going to possibly start back up to new liquidity levels? In this case, it's way up here. You can see that, and you can also see a whole bunch of gaps as it was coming down, and most recently this one. So price really, even though it was kind of moving up here to start the month for a moment, it really just filled in this gap. It wasn't really necessarily ready to be, to have weekly and monthly continuity to the upside at the moment. You had to really see where we were going to get through this area or not. If once we got up here, then I could say we were probably heading up to that high until proven otherwise. But anyway, filled in the gap, and then it kind of failed in here. Eventually the weekly chart turns red. I'm looking at it. It's right in here, and we come down and take out the next level of liquidity. Which is this recent low. And you can see here at that point, this is where you get the new flip of the month in October, and that's why it comes up and takes out this next liquidity up here. Now what's interesting, as you're coming down here in September to take, at the lows of, towards the end of the month, you're taking that out. If you look back on the chart, you really have to do this on the weekly chart. We're just filling in a big gap down here. So obviously the next big liquidity push is all the way down here, but in the meantime, there's a gap in efficient pricing in this whole area right here to fill in. And you can see here, that's what price is doing. So this is an example of, on the short term, you're taking out liquidity on the daily chart, but in the bigger picture, you're actually just getting to a support area where you're filling in some inefficient pricing. So that's why you always got to keep the weekly big picture in mind with the, the shorter time frame. So anyway, you fill that out, then you kind of come up. There was a good trade in here to kind of take out this liquidity. Now the question is, what's going to happen next? Are you going to continue higher, or are you going to balance, start moving down towards these levels? And you can see here, ever since the beginning of the month, it's green the entire month. So even when it turns down like this, you might turn down on the weekly chart for a moment, but you're still, you just reached a key area, and you also know the monthly chart is still up. So at that point, it's in conflict a little bit in terms of, are you going to be heading down here to flip the whole month red and take out this liquidity, or is it going to kind of start back up again? And since the month is green, once the weekly chart turns green again, and I'd have to go day by day here. Let me see what day this is. This is the Monday. So once it starts up right in here, you kind of know the weekly chart's back up, the monthly chart's up, and you're looking for this liquidity to be taken out. And I don't know if it does. No, it doesn't do it on this day. We come down, but eventually it takes that out. So now you're at the end of the month here, and you're just kind of chopping around a little bit. I could also see in the big picture, you're kind of just filling in this gap area in here. There's still a weekly chart in play. That's what this whole rally up in here on the weekly is kind of filling in this little area. Until you get really above that, it's going to be hard to say if you're going to be starting up towards these highs. This is the gap area, and that's why you can see it kind of failed in here a little bit. So when it fails in there, first of all, you have the new weekly chart down here and the new month starting, and that's a good opportunity to look short and to say you're going to take out this liquidity down here. So there are all kinds of opportunities to get short. You take out that liquidity. Question is, are you going to continue, as you're coming down on the weekly chart here? Now, you're down here, or you're going to continue to this level. It's certainly possible you could have, but you get a major change. What day is this? Let's look at the day. That's Thursday. Yeah, so what happened here is you're coming down, you took out the liquidity, blah, 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 blah. On Friday, you come up and you close the week green, and you're just about to turn the month, very close to turning. I guess the open is right up here. So you're not quite there yet, but you could see turning the week up. You could almost anticipate this next day buying in here, that it's going to take out this liquidity, and that's what it does, and it comes up there. And then for the rest of the month, you're still green. So you're not really looking to necessarily, until the next month hits and we get red on the, you're not really necessarily looking to come all the way back down. What happens is, though, it's interesting. I see this as the next month then starts, and for the first 2 days or so you come up, and then you're kind of starting a red bar here to turn the week and the month red. So you could have anticipated going short here to at least take out this liquidity and see if we then start all the way back down here. But this next bar doesn't make it to that level, and then you get a 2-up bar on the daily chart. So I would take a small stop right there. And you're almost anticipating now this green bar is going to be taking out this liquidity right here, and maybe starting the entire month. It's the weekly chart's turning green, the month is turning green, and you're heading higher up here. So there's a good trade down here to get long. You would have taken a small loss right here. That's kind of my point if you were really trading it and looking for the opportunity. But then you see a big fail. You take out liquidity. You always wonder what's going to happen next. At this point, you get a big down move here, and the weekly chart turns red, the monthly chart now, which is the open here, turning red. So you're anticipating, and look at this, you got equal lows all over the place here. So that's such high probability once you come down here that you're going to be taking that out. You do, and you continue lower. Now the question is, as you're continuing lower, are you going to take out this liquidity? That's what you're expecting for sure. You're expecting it to come down here. Now look, this is the thing. As you're coming down, you see this fair value gap in here. That's inefficient pricing, right, between the high of this bar and the low of that bar. So that's filling that in right there. And what happens is you come to the end of the month, the new month starts down, and then within 4 days or so, I'd have to look at the exact day, but at some point, where's Monday on this? My eyes aren't great. Yeah, that's a Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday comes down, Thursday, Friday you kind of start up, and you're getting a reversal kind of look to it. And by the start of next week, this is the key area right here. Your weekly chart's now turning green, the monthly chart's turning green. You kind of knew this area was a potential support area. You're not going to take out that liquidity. You had a nice run, down here for a while to do it, but this is the area where you say, now we're heading back up to those highs. And you can see here, we eventually work up. That when this pullback is just taking, the month is still green, you're just filling in some gaps, inefficient pricing, and eventually you work up and take out that high. And now we're sitting here kind of at new highs, and the question is, are we going to reverse or are we going to continue higher? If we look at the chart, since we hit a key level here, this is a key area where you can definitely reverse, but you're going to have to get the weekly chart reversing and the monthly chart reversing. And, if not, then, you can see some of our next levels are way up here. So what you're looking for, and we just ended the week here, so what you're looking for next week is a downward week that kind of goes below the yellow line, which is the open of the month. If that happens, then you're all of a sudden looking for this area, this pivot area, and this pivot area, all to be potentially taken out. So it's all going to be how price action opens next week. If we kind of come down and can't really break below that area with some nice red price action, then we could be this is a key, level right here, because it really is a big picture level that you just finally hit the target. So this is either liquidity is taken out and we're going all the way back down, or we're going to kind of hold in here and then look for bigger picture broadening areas. And that's where, that's how you kind of determine, once you take out key levels and you can't reverse, then you kind of go to the bigger picture to see kind of where you're heading next potentially. So that's another example of some algorithmic price action. And we'll see. This is an interesting stock to follow next week to see if we start down big, you're going to start anticipating, and the weekly chart can really turn red, then get ready to look for broadening action to the upside, higher highs here, and then all of a sudden potentially lower lows.